So that was a cool event, which they do. They used to do every year at San
Yeah.
Francisco Symphony. But he's just got a lot of soul. He plays with feeling.
I'm gonna check him out. Definitely gonna check him out after you sent me that text.
Yeah,
Um,
Switch Out Brothers. Him and Derek Trucks just did a with JMO from Almond Brothers.
oh, nice.
Yeah, on YouTube. It's like the closest thing to the Almond Brothers because both of those guys played with them, and having JMO on the rhythm, it's like it's fantastic. I wish we would have caught that show.
I'm staring at a Tedeschi Trucks Band album right now. Um, well, real quickly, let me everybody welcome to um, Spirits in the Material World. Today's going to be fun. We've got Kevin Cantrell, and he is well. We're going to talk about it. He's an artist, musician, and an enthusiast, whiskey, among other things, I'm sure. And we've got him live here today. And we were actually probably just heard. We were talking a little bit about music, and um, I'm actually Kevin. I'm actually in what's supposed to be my music room, but it's been taken over by my son's whiskey collection. It's like a warehouse. Probably shouldn't say that out loud.
That definitely happens. I couldn't tell you how many pictures I've seen of a whole floor, just all bottles, to where it gets out.
Yeah.
Got it. My wife, I actually have a very supportive wife when it comes. She literally sent me pictures today from Costco of whiskey bottles. You're looking for this one, or do you want that one? I'm like, are you sure? What do you want me? You want my liver to die, or what's that?
Exactly right. Yeah, I know.
She knows that it's kind of a passion. Every now and then she scores, and I'm like, oh yeah, grab that one.
That's cool. Very cool. I drink whiskey. It's probably been, I don't know. It's been a long time, but I transitioned um, to tequila really and that's usually now, I mean, a weekend kind of thing, but I like to just sip it like you sip a good neat bourbon, I like to sip good whiskey, or tequila. As long as it tastes like agave, I'm pretty much in.
Right. I
Um,
agree. In fact, talking to young people, when they say they drink tequila, I immediately say, okay, how do you drink tequila? And if you tell me you're shooting it, I don't want to hear that. I said,
yeah.
and little do they know, it's like even if you said to them, you should drink it like a cognac, that still wouldn't really register in their head. But
No.
you really should sip it. I mean, enjoy it. This is a 5-year-old
Yeah.
agave, aged 5 years. And who knows, in a bourbon barrel, a lot of times.
Yeah. They do that now.
Mm-hmm.
You'll see that. It's pretty cool.
I like
Um,
the I like the pure stuff. Usually, I've been leaning towards like Lalo and Ocho and some of those. So
those are two really good ones right there. Have you
Ocho
tried?
Añejo is a delicious añejo. Friend of mine discovered, and he couldn't find it, so I actually just punched it in on their website and found a store. And in talking to the guy, he said, "Yeah, that they only produce it once a year. That's why
Ah.
when you see it, and if you want it, you better grab it."
Well, it's
So,
very difficult tequila wise. So I live in the very northwest tip of Mississippi. I get I'm in Memphis in, 12, 15 miles. I'm right on the we'll talk a little bit about it, but I'm right on the Highway 61, the Blues Highway, famous Blues Highway, right over the bluffs of the river. And it's a state controlled liquor environment here. And I'm not an expert on all of that, but in talking with some of the local proprietary, liquor stores guys, um, they can only get kind of what the state brings in, and things like you said, Lalo's hard to get, Ocho's hard to get. I I have to go to Memphis to get G4. I love G4. La Gratona, got to go to Memphis. Mississippi is just very difficult.
that one I haven't had, so I may have to put that on the look for it list.
Yeah, which one's that? G4 or La Gratona?
Lagatona.
Lager. It's a it's a green bottle with like a cork top, like like a Grolsch beer. Um,
Hmm. Oh yeah.
it's really nice. Reposado
Mm-hmm.
tastes really good. Sip on it. I think you'd really enjoy it.
it is interesting to me. Whiskey, just to go back to that, it's like and music. I actually heard an interview with Sting a while back, and he was talking about writing and what makes it to where this is a good one. Let's keep going. Let's work with it. And he said something has to surprise me, and I'm like, yeah, you know what? That's true with music. I mean, if you're writing, yeah, something has to surprise you and go, whoa, that's different.
Right.
And to me, that's what whiskey, that's what tequila. And if you can think about it later and still remember it, that taste, that palate. And
That's something.
sometimes I'll take a sip. Recently, I bought a private barrel Elijah Craig from a store that the guy has a really good palate. And when he selects something, you could just about count on it's going to be good. But he also pours you a little sip, in the store. And as I was walking around, I was just like, came back. I said, "Wow," and it didn't hit immediately, but it was like straight caramel. And you go, "Okay, this is bourbon put in a 3 or 4 charred white oak barrel, and in the environment of Kentucky, moving in and out of that char, it's gathering color and gathering flavors, and just to be that distinct that is caramel, I'm like,
Wow.
it kind of blows my mind, how that happens. To be honest,
And the water, right? Water plays a huge part of it.
it does. But then you talk to people. A lot of distillers are using reverse osmosis systems and filtrating, and I don't know. Sometimes I was just talking to somebody recently about this. I feel like maybe they do put a little bit of the water back in because otherwise, what would limestone water matter
Yeah.
if you're going to reverse osmosis filter it? So there's got to retain something. It's like uh, there was a spirit that I tasted in San Francisco. I had never heard of it. It was at a place called the Cantina. Friends of mine went there all the time. So they're like, go there, have the Pisco punch. And I'm like, okay. So I go in, meet the proprietor, and really cool guy. And he comes over and he said, okay, I'm going to make you a Pisco punch. But first, I want you to taste the spirit, Pisco. So Pisco is made in
Oh,
Peru. It's
okay.
made in Peru. It can only be called Pisco if it's made in Peru. And so you didn't tell me anything more about it. I'll just give you this much. I have made wine, just experimented with it. I've made beer, played around a little bit with distilling, not much, but the wine I understood. So like when you ferment it and you put it through the press, after 10 days it ferments, and then you have to press it and put it in carboys or stainless steel, whatever you're going to do. But when it's coming off the press, that young distillation, or yeah, it's fermentation. Sorry, you're going to taste it. You have to. It's like, okay, what's this taste like? So when he handed me that spirit, he said, "What do you get from it?" And I said, "Man, it just hit me." I said, "This reminds me of when I'm making wine."
Wow.
I said, that early juice before it goes through any chemical changes. It's young wine. He's
Yeah.
like, he goes, "You nailed it." He said that's what pisco is. So certain varietals, I'm not even sure which grapes in Peru. So they'll pick them, they'll crush them, they'll ferment them, they'll press the juice, and they take the juice immediately away and they distill it. So it
Huh.
is a young fermentation of wine that's distilled. So it's not like brandy. Brandy is older distillate or fermentation of, I guess, wine, champagne grapes maybe. And I could taste that same kind of thing coming through that I remembered from that juice coming off the press. So it's a distillation will retain like the characteristics of the yeast, the fruits, the grapes. A certain amount still gets held in that. You would think, once it becomes like alcohol, that
Right.
it wouldn't, but it definitely does. So that's why I like, the difference of rye, the percentage of rye and barley and corn makes a difference. But Four Roses uses like 9 or 10 different recipes in their whiskey. And part of the recipe is mash bill, so difference of rye and corn. But another major thing, which I personally think is one of their best kept secrets in like especially the really good distilleries, what yeast are they using?
Mm.
They won't tell you. I'll tell you that.
That's their secret sauce.
I think.
Interesting. It's always, I remember, obviously, Four Roses is very pleasant. Um, I'm sure they make some with the high heat, but I remember it always very drinkable, very nice tasting. Wasn't abrasive, which is like Wyatt, my son Wyatt, who collects. He's to the point, probably like you. Whoops. If it's not bringing the heat, 115, 110, I don't think he prefers it. I think where me, if like every now and then he'll have a bottle, from his travels, he'll come home with something like, oh man, and I'll try it and I'll be like, it's like you could just go start the car with that stuff.
That is
Um,
true. I do typically like at least 100,
yeah,
101, 104, like Antique 107, which is a Weller product. Weller 12, Antique 107. They're all weeded bourbons that come out of Buffalo Trace. And I don't know if I'm going off
no, that's that. I love it.
down
This is it right here.
rabbit trail, I should say. So I can remember my friend and he was a whiskey drinker always, and he would have a shot and a beer. And I would have a shot and a beer with him and be like, oh my God, this is, how can you drink this? And then slowly but surely, my palate got acclimated to it. I started being able to taste the flavors and not just the burn and the hot of the whiskey. And that's when things changed for me. And he introduced me to Pappy Van Winkle.
Yeah,
And I'm like, okay, well, how do I get a bottle of that? But at that time, it wasn't $1,000. It wasn't $2,000.
right.
It was more like 79, 99. I remember having a discussion with him, I don't know how many years ago, probably 15. And he goes, hey, there's a bottle of Pappy, 23-year-old up in Tahoe. I said, how much? $250. And now you would jump on it just for collection reasons, if nothing else. And we both said, I don't know, that's too much. And we also said, everybody says it's over oaked, which it is. 23-year-old Pappy. But the thing about it, by the time you bottle and age a 23-year-old bourbon, I mean, your yield on let's say a barrel, 60-gallon barrel, the amount is like that by the time they bottle it of that barrel.
Evaporation. Yeah.
Oh yeah, so you could. I mean, I'm surprised that they were able to. Still, the retail on these bottles, like probably the last bottle I got was a 15-year-old on an Idaho lottery, Pappy, and I got it for $79.
Wow.
I
No.
had my wife and I were Grand Reserve members at Total Wine one year, both of us because of me and my spending.
That says a lot right there. That just
It does. I can't even accomplish one now, but back then, I don't know. Somehow I was accomplishing 2 Grand Reserve memberships, and it went into a lottery. And anyway, sure, I'm just trying not to digress, but the point was, so they ran this thing, and we were on the computer trying to get in because it was a lottery. If you get in at the right time, you could select a bottle. The server got so jammed that the whole thing got shut down. I was on the phone with her and at work on a break. And I was trying to get through, and I call her. I said, where are you at? She said, I'm at a place where it says select a store. I said, well, I didn't get there. I'm still stuck, trying to get in. And she goes, you know what? I got to go. I said, okay, you know what? I just heard that the servers crashed. Don't worry about it. Well, she left it just as it set, went 3 hours, came back. She comes home and it's loaded up with all these Pappies, pick a bottle. After Total Wine had said that it got shut down, there was nobody was going to get anything. They were going to redo the whole thing. Well, I kept thinking, okay, you know what? I said, select a bottle, select a Pappy 20-year-old. And so she did, and it went in, it went through payment. So I'm thinking, well, they got to honor it. And so even though that, everything they said that this particular one didn't work, I said, one did.
Wow.
So that was $99. I got that bottle for $99. So most of my,
it was meant to be.
I haven't overspent on my collection. I spent more in recent years. I mean, like Old Forester birthday bourbons go for 1,000. The only way that I will get a birthday bourbon these days is by I'll trade you this and this for that. That's the only
Uh,
way.
that's what my son does. He does a lot of trading.
But back to
It's
the
selling.
Pappy. The reason I went down that was I was saying I like the 107 proof is what Antique 107 and Weller 12. And so when things started getting crazy, so that's where it was, where you could get a bottle of Pappy in the store, say 23 for 250, uh, maybe Pappy 20 for 100. So they were reachable. Then Weller was nothing. Weller 12-year-old Weller weeded was like 40 bucks. Antique 107 was less, maybe 35 bucks. Um, but so when you couldn't get Pappy and everybody wanted it, they started going, oh, well, Weller 12 and Antique 107, they called it poor man's Pappy, which some of the Antique 107 and Weller 12s at a point during the whole allocated stupidity, which is still going on, but they were
Yeah, it
like
is.
500 bucks a bottle for a $40 whiskey because people put it out there and other people that wanted Pappy believed it, that if you blended the two together, it was the same juice as Pappy Van Winkle. It is the same mash bill. It is the same. Uh, it is a wheated bourbon, but there's no way I can tell you. I've tasted Pappy up against Weller's. They're not the same, but you know what? If people believe it, then they're driven, right?
Right. Exactly. What? So when did you? When did you start drinking bourbon? Like, because I remember I didn't even think about it until I was in my 40s.
Well, I grew up in a family. I will say this, where whiskey was not in our house. Wasn't on. My dad would occasionally, drive us around mowing lawns and get a little bottle of vodka and sip on it while we're driving. But he wasn't a whiskey drinker. But my friend that I grew up with exposed me to a lot of things. His household was they ate things we didn't eat. They were more uh, into like good food chefs. I mean, we were eating more like poor people. I would just say, you know.
Right.
So with him, I got exposed to a lot of things. The first beer I drank wasn't really a beer. I think it was a Mickey's malt liquor.
Oh, just starting right out with the gusto.
But he liked whiskey, and so he would sip on whiskey. His grandpa liked whiskey. I think his dad did. And so, like I think I told you in an email that I remember passing a bottle of Old Granddad back and forth, and
Yeah.
being dumb and young and not realizing that even though you don't feel something, you're about to.
Yeah. It's coming.
Yeah, that wasn't the best experience. But later on, we still kept our like for tequila, and we had a passion for tequila really first, and so we were searching out the best tequila we could find. Which back in the day, Commemorativo was a really good. Trace Generations was really
Yeah.
good back in the '90s, and there's some other ones that you can't even get anymore. But that's a whole nother thing. I think tequila makers, they swap distilleries, they do all kinds of stuff. But we started getting things like Jim Beam Black Label, Jim Beam
Yeah.
Green Label, just kind of experimenting and going, hey, this is a little bit better. And then once I started realizing, like I said, those surprises in the bottle that you go, I want to share it with somebody. And that's what to me, this community is about. The
Yeah.
bourbon groups, if you have a bottle, I could never imagine just hoarding it to myself and just, I'm going to drink this whole thing. My goal would be, you got to taste this.
Yeah.
Check this out. Share. I had a whiskey that literally turned into like straight candy corn, and it was like 140 proof. I was like, how can it?
140.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's called light whiskey, but it turned into, yeah.
Not
It was
very
a
light.
weird thing, actually. Seagram's sold out to, you heard of MGP
Uh-huh.
in Indiana. So that was originally the Seagram's distillery. And so in Seagram's, they would make almost 100% corn liquor and 1% barley. And so when MGP bought their distillery, there were barrels of this almost 100 proof, high proof, 100% corn, almost 1% barley. And so they were still there. And then I guess somebody said, "Hey, let's taste this stuff." And they were blown away by what they tasted. They were able to sell it to different people who, of course, as you know, MGP puts out a lot of stuff that has Smoke Wagon, High West. Those are all MGP whiskeys that other people buy, put their label on it, do a little blending, maybe age it in a wine barrel. And so MGP has sold a lot of whiskey that way. But that was a super unique one.
I remember Park City, Utah. It's probably 4 or 5 years ago, probably longer now. But I did the High West Distillery tour, and we got to sample a lot of what they had, and then they took us on the tour and showed us how it works. And that's when I started to understand the difference between like a blend, or they actually bought their, I don't know, I guess they bought their whiskey somewhere else and made it, put it together and blended it. It was clear, it was clear before it even turned colors, before they put it in the barrels and all that stuff. But the concept really, and then single barrel and understanding all that differences. That was the first time I really understood that, though, that you could start a distillery and not have any liquor.
Yeah. And it does get them a good start, because bourbon takes at least 2-3 years.
Yeah.
So you got to start with a vodka, a gin.
Yeah.
Rye maybe comes along quicker. But yeah, they got to start. And High West, actually, I was up in Idaho recently, and I always go check their stores because they're also state ran. They have a little thing called the treasure hunt section that you can go to. Your son would love, because I found some good stuff in there. And one of the things I found was a bottled in bond rye, so 100 proof rye, and it was actually distilled by High West, so 100% their own product. So now they're finally getting to a point, and I was very impressed, to where they got their own product. And so I snagged it, and I'm glad I did. But now I know, it's like, you know what, they're making good stuff.
Right.
So eventually, I respect what people are doing in that way, but I also think that in order to do that, the cost, to buy a bottle, to put a label, to buy it from someone else, you have to raise the price to a point where, is this product really worth it?
Right.
Some of that, I don't think that it was worth it. Smoke Wagon, in my opinion, they had a following, pretty big following, based on a guy's Instagram, which he really pumped it up. And it came at a time where people couldn't get allocated whiskeys that they wanted. So they kind of put that whiskey as the one they were chasing instead, because they could get it. That's my opinion. It was very high rye, which is what most of Indiana MGP whiskeys are. And rye, I don't know if you agree or if you felt this or not, but it can be interpreted as hot, even though it's not.
Yeah.
The spice of the rye can make you feel like you're drinking a hotter whiskey. So corn tends to be more sweeter, and a 70%.
I've always liked the rye, but I was, I guess, introduced to rye through Manhattans. I always thought a proper Manhattan, if you wanted to have, you'd have rye, right?
I totally agree.
Yeah.
So we were talking proofs. I just was going to say, I normally drink higher proofs, but for a whiskey that's super tasty in the 90 proof, can you see this?
Go put it more in front of you.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, there you go. I got it.
Elmer T. Lee.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Hard to get, Buffalo Trace product. Elmer T. Lee, single barrel sour mash. I think it was one of the first single barrels that they made, maybe, or blends actually, but nobody got it. I don't know why they were charging more. Why would we pay more for this just because you're claiming a single barrel?
So tell me a little bit about, I'm interested in this whole allocated thing. How did it start? And what was the reason, or what was the purpose? Was it just the evil empire coming up with a way to make more money?
So, like I said, I used to have stores that had me on a list that would call me and say, "Hey, I've got a Weller 12. You want it? Yes, please hold it for me." and I'd go down and get it. There were other people like me out there, but there were a handful of people like me at that time.
Ah,
And so all of a sudden, I mean, like, okay, that bottle I just showed you, supermarket. I don't know if you have Rayleigh's back there, but Rayleigh's is a big supermarket around here. They put 6 on the shelf at retail price of 30 something dollars a bottle. And a guy would come in and buy all of them with no restriction, no one bottle limit, nothing. He'd buy all 6 of them, and he would turn around on a Facebook website and flip them for 100 to 150 a piece. So these people who were just buying whiskey and flipping bottles and making more money than the store, the smaller, and the grocery stores didn't catch on for a while. And the little liquor stores, they caught on, and they started saying, hey, wait a minute. They're going to make that much money on the side reselling a bottle that I sold. If that's what they're willing to pay, then I'm going to start putting those prices on the bottle in the store. And so, and the store and the distributors like that sold Buffalo Trace products, anywhere from that bottle I just showed you, Elmer Keeley, to Weller, to
is Eagle Rare Buffalo Trace?
It is.
Okay.
Eagle Rare, George T. Stagg Jr., all Buffalo Trace, and they became desirable. And so people, the more you want it, the more the stores started going, you know what, I'm going to grab the money. And people would get mad at these stores for doing it, but it's like, you know what, they're sick and tired of people coming in, buying them at low prices, putting them on a secondary market, illegally, of course, and selling. It is tempting. Believe me, if I bought a bottle that was $900, for example, I bought a Michter's 25-year-old, and that bottle was selling on allocated markets for like $4,000, $4,500. Yeah.
What? Unbelievable. Michter's?
Yeah.
Wow.
Michter's 25-year-old. Look it up.
All right.
20-year-old.
I wonder if there's one over here that I just.
Oh boy, if he has one, let's find out.
Let's open it.
Bring it to Uncle Ian's, and I'll come visit. Or you guys come visit me.
Exactly. Yeah, he's got stuff that I don't know. I can't even keep track. He's got an inventory sheet.
He's way better organized than me.
Yeah, it's very, very impressive.
Well, there's the collection of the allocateds that are, they taste good. There's also the collection of, I'm sure he might have got into the Dusties, we call them. The older,
okay.
The old bottles. Somebody has a bottle, grandma, grandpa in the estate never opened this bottle. Maybe it was a decanter, Where
do you find those? You find those on like auction sites or estate
maybe estate sales or, yeah, probably auction. I have a friend that I grew up with, and she does estate sales. And I told her, hey, if you find any bottles, and I have a couple of them, they're like an old Jim Beam Christmas box bottle, 70s from the 70s.
So what do you keep around? What is your, I don't want to say daily, but if you were to keep stuff around that you do drink yourself, what do you like?
Lately, I would say Old Forester.
Yeah. Okay.
Very impressed with the single barrel pick Old Foresters. Actually, Old Forester rye was really, like you said, for an old fashioned.
Yeah.
And it was 100 proof, and Knob Creek had you really want to get a kick in your cocktail, 115 proof rye. And
really? Okay. Yeah, that would do it.
Yeah. 2 of those, you might be sleeping in your recliner before the wake up, 2 a.m. wake up.
Where am I? Right. Yeah, I remember
Elijah Craig too, sometimes, not always. It's interesting. Like I just got that private barrel that tasted like caramel.
Yeah.
Not always. And that's another tough one. It's like, so they don't all taste like that, but yet, and that is also a thing. I don't know if you heard about this. Sweet place in the warehouse, a sweet spot.
Huh.
So I heard this Jim Beam, not makers. Oh, what's it called? Booker's. Booker's is a really high proof whiskey they make. So they would always name their products, like Book or No, but one of them was called Shiny Barrel. And this will tell the story of what I'm talking about. So these Kentucky boys wearing their coveralls, would carry a little PVC tube in their pocket. And the barrels that they found a really good one, because they're out there, there's just like this, oh man, this is a good one. They would thieve out of the barrel. and
Yep.
and so those barrels were telltale because Booker, who was the master distiller, they weren't dusty. Right in the front, they were like clean and shiny, where their bellies, big old boys' bellies, was leaning on the front of the barrel.
I
They
love
called
it.
them shiny barrel, and so the shiny barrels, Booker knew that's a good one.
I always get confused between Booker and Baker. I just I can never figure out the difference.
That is, I haven't had a lot of Bakers, but Bakers is a Jim Beam product.
Yeah.
It's just another one of their products. Booker Little Book has been a once a year release that they
My son's
started.
got a few of those.
Yeah,
I was
they're
just
all.
today I was just at a meeting at City Hall in Memphis. The mayor was giving a presentation, and they gave a public servant an award. And he came up, got his award and everything. And then they said, and over on the table over there, we got him a little something adult beverage to sip on at night. Cause and I look over and there's a Baker's. It's a box, a wood
Oh,
box,
wow.
and it said Baker's right on the side. So I figured he got hooked up pretty well.
Man, I'm sure that was a good one. It's always interesting. I think like with Pappy Van Winkle, when I share it with people, because I have the 20-year-old, I have the 15-year-old, I have, that's another thing. I don't know if you know or not, the Van Winkle 12-year-old is not a Pappy.
No, I know. I have one.
Yeah. So that's really good whiskey, that
Yeah.
12-year-old. I think they forget what they call it. But then the Van Winkle rye and Rip Van Winkle, those are all Van Winkles, and they're all wheated, but they're not Pappy. Pappy only has Pappy's face on the bottle,
I had one of those, and we did a little taste test. And my son Wyatt, he broke open I'm not going to know it like you would know it, but he broke up a really nice bottle of Wild Turkey, and we favored actually the Wild Turkey. It wasn't your average Wild Turkey,
Yeah.
but it was incredible.
I was just going to say, people always want to taste it, and they're welcome to taste it, when they're at my place.
Yeah.
The 20, the 15, whatever. But I like letting people taste it because more times than not, they say, that's it? Like, yeah, that's it. You're right. I have a Wild Turkey. Let's see. Your son would probably know this. It was a Camp F, Nelson Camp F. And it's not Wild Turkey, it's Russell's, because that's Jimmy Russell is the master distiller for Wild Turkey.
Oh, okay.
So,
And Russell has that red label, right?
Sometimes they have blue label. Yeah, they do have a red label. They have this one's blue.
Okay.
And it was not. It was pretty expensive, and it was at a Costco grand opening. When they first open their doors, they will put out good bottles. Every Costco. Wow. And so
really?
I haven't opened that bottle, but I already knew what it tasted like from.
Right.
It's nice if you can go to a really good whiskey bar and taste something and go, okay, I know. Now I know. If I can grab this, I'm going to. And that was one of those. But Michter's, like you said, Michter's rye, that's a good one. Michter's,
good one.
Michter's barrel strength rye, Michter's toasted barrel rye, really good.
Oh wow! So Kevin, I know you've got a great concert to go tonight, so I don't want to keep you too long. But I really want to hear more about the musician Kevin, and just in case I get a bunch of questions, your brother's not Jerry Cantrell, is he?
No. But I will say this, about the NAMM show in LA. It's a National Association of Music Merchants.
Okay.
And every year they have an industry show, is what it is. And so every guitar company, amplifier, microphone, cable, recording equipment, speakers, everything
They're
in the
all there.
industry. It's all there. I mean, lighting, stage, software. I mean, anything new that somebody wants to promote, they'll try to get there and promote their new products. But anyway, the reason I brought it up, I was at one of those shows and I was walking around, and it's just you never know what you're going to see or who you're going to see.
Right.
In fact, they call it the family reunion of the music industry is what they call
Nice.
it.
Okay.
I mean, I've seen Chris Squire from Yes. I've sat at a bar and drank a beer with the drummer from Yes, with a friend of mine. Met Alex Skolnick from Testament. And they're just people at that point. They're not
Right.
like protected, guarded, and you get. Last year, I ran into Rudy Sarzo, bass player for Ozzy,
Yeah.
and they're just sweet, nice humans. It's cool to see them just as a working musician is who they are. They have a passion. They're no different than you and I. Other than that, they have talent.
Yep.
But one year, I was walking along and I seen a guy, and I didn't recognize him because his hair was like super short. He's wearing sunglasses, and I'm like, "Who is that?" And my friend said, "Oh, that's Jerry Cantrell." I said, "Oh, really?"
With short hair.
I got to see him. I got to go say hi.
Yeah.
And so he was at a G&L guitar booth, which is the guitar that he plays mostly. And so I walked right up and just said, "Hi, Jerry, Kevin." And I showed him my badge, Cantrell. I said, "So I got to ask you, because everyone who knows Alice in Chains always asked me, are you related to Jerry?" So, and he looks at me and he goes, I said, "So I got two questions, Oklahoma family, Cherokee Indian?" And he's like, "Yeah, on my dad's side, for sure." And he said, "You know what? I bet you we are related."
Well, I mean, yeah. I mean, you never know, right?
That's where most Cantrells came from, Oklahoma and the Cherokee area. But my dad had like 10 uncles, and I only knew his immediate family. So all those uncles that had kids and their kids had kids, who knows? And that's why I say, I don't know, maybe.
Right. Well, if
People
you
ask.
both went down to ancestry.com or something, you could find out, right?
Well, we
That's
both
great.
love guitar.
And you guys both, yeah, I was going to say, you both have a passion for music and guitar.
Yeah.
So tell me about, so when did you start? I know you had a music family. You told me about your grandmother, blind and a musician.
Yeah.
It
So
sounded
10
like
years
you
old.
kind of, yeah, go ahead.
I was 10, and my dad I had to beg him because when I was a little kid, they had given me a guitar that I left outside in the rain. And so they're like, "Yeah, the last guitar you had, you left it out in the rain." I said,
Right.
"Come on, I was young. I promise I'll take care of it." And what it was, interestingly, it was not my family that played music that inspired me. It was another young kid. And sometimes, you know how you get this, well, like if he can do it, I can do it
Yeah.
kind of. And that's what happened to me with this young kid, my age. And so just got the idea, I guess. And I had a school teacher, I think around fifth grade, that would bring an acoustic guitar and he would sing songs, hand out the lyric sheets with the chords.
Oh,
And so
awesome.
after I got my guitar, I started learning, through the Mel Bay's chord book, some G, some C, some D, some
Yeah.
F, and struggled, thinking to myself, "Oh my God, this is hard," like where Ian's at. And, but you
You
gotta,
trying to get your fingers to do
yeah,
what your brain's saying.
it does. It takes a lot. Muscle memory isn't there until you learn it. But I've always said I was determined to learn. I really wanted to learn. And that's the only way you can do it. You have to be determined. I'm not going to give up. And so, I started strumming. I started learning to play songs like Country Roads, John Denver. That was some of the things that my teacher had on his guitar sheet.
Perfect.
And then my good friend got a set of drums, and pretty soon, you get together. And my dad brought home an electric guitar, and it was an old Japanese thing, but it just kept going. Then pretty soon I buy a Gibson, and I'm learning. I'm listening to these songs. So we start by high school. I'm good. I'm playing good enough to where we're playing Leonard Skinner. We're playing Foghat
Oh, wow.
for the
Okay.
school. For the whole school, we started playing this stuff to the point where, and I'm not trying to not bragging about it, but we had some good musicians. The piano players in Nashville to this day, excellent musician. And the kids were like, "Was that really you guys playing?" I'm like, "Yeah, that was really us." You know,
Wow.
but it was just fun to like, to take a song you hear and learn how to play those sounds. So I think I was a noisemaker. I was always making sounds with my mouth. I'm like, now I can make sounds with my hands.
Well, yeah, that's so,
But then to learn how to like squeal out harmonics, and some of the stuff I got into Rush and all the 80s stuff, Dokken and all that stuff. Those guys were really good at like pinch harmonics. And I hit one accidentally, and I just kept messing around until I could do it again. And I don't know. There was a point where you kind of think that you've progressed to the point where you can't learn anymore, and you're like, okay, I'll never be able to do that. But you just keep trying, and then
keep
one
working
day,
on it.
one day I'm tapping, playing like not exactly like Eddie Van Halen, but I can play some of the things Eddie Van Halen can play, and
Right.
that's what I think. You become driven if you want to. If you want to get better at anything, there's got to be a drive there,
Yeah.
and then peer pressure can drive you to get better. Like play with people better than you, and the same thing can happen. It's like, okay, well, you know what? He can do it. I should be able to do it too. I'm going to keep trying.
Right.
And so that led to playing in a band. And now I have, besides the bourbon collection, the guitar collection, Les Pauls,
Oh, okay.
Les
That's
Paul,
another rabbit hole.
335s, Paul Reed Smiths, Fenders.
Nice. I've always wanted a gold top. Someday I'll do it and I'll stare at it because I'll be afraid to touch it. But I don't know if it was because Slash or I don't know. I can tell the difference now between when I hear something. Oh, that's a Les Paul, that's a Gibson, that's a Fender Strat
Yeah.
or a Telecaster, and but yeah, I've always just how can you not stare at a Les Paul? I know there's different ones, but and just not say that is the most beautiful thing I've ever seen in my life.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of how I
Absolutely.
feel. There's some beautiful. So who's your favorite? Do you have a favorite guitar player? Is there somebody like, for instance, I played the bass, before I even picked up an acoustic guitar. I was screwing around with the bass, and you're going to laugh, but I learned to play the bass based on John Taylor from Duran Duran,
Hmm.
which is like, and he learned, and if you know anything about John Taylor, he learned to play the bass from, I'm embarrassed. I'm drawing a blank. The guy from Chic. I'm just drawing a blank. But anyways, so who like when you hear it, you go, I want to, you see him, you try to emulate him. Who's your guy? You got a guy?
Well, to start with, I would say when I learned, okay, I'm going to tell you what I tell everybody that wants to learn how to play lead guitar. Johnny B. Good.
Oh,
It's the foundation of how to start playing blues lead guitar. This pentatonic scale, and you start learning. You can play the notes, but when you start bending the notes, vibrating the notes, tapping, and going between the notes, and sliding up into another, thing, you can go from a lower tone to a higher tone, but stay in the same key, octaves, and you start learning those things, variety. I think it comes down again to variety. I mean, it's like what I like in whiskey. I like a variety. I honestly can't say I like one. I'm a moody guy. So what am I in the mood for today?
that's
White wine,
cool.
red wine, um, you know, same with beer. Do I want an IPA or am I in the mood for a Pilsner? I
Yeah.
really am not a pigeonhole type of person when it comes to, I just like this. I really like variety. And so for guitar, it was Johnny B. Good, the Leonard Skinner trio of guitarists, all the stuff
Yeah.
those guys did. If you listen to, let's just say, you know, um, Freebird, and listen to what they were doing and how they jammed it, and they played so precise, and they learned their leads. They didn't just improvise, which there's a lot to be said about improvising, but also a lot to be said about being so dead on. And the lead singer Ronnie Van Zant wanted them playing things dead on precisely every single time they played it.
Yeah.
And they did, and they really did. Still love their music. And
Like the Eagles, kind of the same
yeah,
mentality. Yeah.
went from there to my friend was always more country rock, and I started going 80s metal and rock, hard rock, and Van Halen. It's just like, how could you not, as a
Right.
guitarist, go? I mean, they call Eddie the king for a reason, King Edward. I mean, he was an innovative guy in so many ways, reducing noise in his pickups by wax potting. He did that first, took that guitar that looked like a pile of parts, which it was, and just made it. He used to turn around, you know that, and hide what he was doing when he was tapping. He would turn around and face his amp so nobody could see, and then he would come back.
I think I knew that.
Yeah. But Eddie, and then after Eddie, I mean, there's a girl that I grew up with that we were together. She was inspiring me to try. She would show me a part of Eruption, and I would show her a part, and then we would work on it.
How cool is that?
And so, yeah, the fast picking, the tapping, the pulling on the tremolo, the dive bombing, all the stuff he did. And then I'm driving along one day, I'll never forget. It's one of those moments where in time where you go, I know exactly where I was. I can picture it to this
Yeah.
day.
Yeah.
It was when Crazy Train came on the radio. And I just wanted to rewind it and hear it again. Give it to me one more time. I'm like, what is that? And Randy Rhoads was, short-lived, but still, an iconic guy that people still try to play like.
You talk about, because music does bring back memories, even when you were little. But a buddy of mine in high school broke his femur in a motorcycle accident, and he had to sit out a full school year. I think it was a full school year. Anyways, so I'd go over there, and because he was pretty much laid up in his house for a long time, and that was the first time I heard Ozzy Osbourne's album, Blizzard of Oz, Mr. Crowley, Crazy Train. And so to your point, you hear something like that, kind of like how I feel about like Jack White. When I first started getting into Jack White, you just hear something and you're like, it's just special. It's probably how everybody felt back in the 60s when they heard Keith Richards with some of the stuff that he would do.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, you hear it and you love it and you get into it. And I can't imagine, I'm staring at a Muddy Waters album. I can't imagine when folks, hit the blues highway, which what I talked about earlier, and went up to Chicago and started plugging in the amps and bringing blues out that way, like Buddy Guy. And it's like, those are moments in history.
I got to see BB once live.
Oh, did you really?
So good. I mean, the storytelling, the horn section, just the emotion, and he's the king of emotion in one note. King.
Isn't that true? It's so true. Yeah.
And so
I saw him
those things I've just tried to like assimilate it all and go, if I can do anything, and my friend who's a bass player, Kurt, that I grew up with, started with drums. He is now a bass player. We had a band together called Prankster, and he's always pushed me too. Like I said, peer pressure. He put something on. Can you do this? And maybe I couldn't do it, but then I'd start trying, And he always has done that. Here's a slide. Try to do that. Try to play this with a slide.
See, I've never even tried a slide.
There's a trick to it. You need to drag your fingers, your middle finger and your pointer finger behind. As if you have let's see, which way are we at?
Yeah.
If you have a slide on this finger, you need to drag these two behind it, so it mutes the strings as you're playing.
Oh. And do you gotta do open tuning, like a C or a G when you do the slide?
Funny. In fact, the guy that showed me how to do it was he owned a guitar store or a music store, and he told me, he goes, I learned all of Dwayne Allman's licks in standard tuning. He goes, then I found out he was playing like, I don't know, open G or open E or something. It was probably open G. I don't know. I can't remember. Somebody will correct me. But he learned to do it. He goes, I learned them all in standard tuning. Then I found out later.
So he did the long math version.
did. He did. It's tricky. I mean, you know what Derek Trucks can do,
Oh,
but
that guy, he's been doing it since he's a kid.
hmm
Amazing.
it's a neat. It's a neat thing, you know. Joe Walsh. We've played Rocky Mountain Way is one of the songs our band played.
Oh, that's great.
Just a great, you know, song that you can go back and forth. I mean, between the slide and just playing some killer lead too.
What are you playing right now typically when you're in playing? Do you switch guitars up or you generally go up with one guitar?
I just got a 335
Yeah.
Gibson about a year ago, and I'm loving that. But yeah, I switch it around. I have a Strat that I love, a Paul Reed Smith, a couple of them that I love, an SG that plays really nice too. Sometimes I swear this is a interesting thing that I can't really put my finger on or figure out, but there'll be times where I'll go to a gig and I'll take like two, three guitars, and the guitar that I thought I was going to play all night just goes wrong. Something happens, and I'll just be like, "Oh my god, put it aside."
It's sick. It
I
needs
mean,
to rest.
and I jokingly say, I'm like, you know what? This guitar was jealous and wanted to be played tonight, so it put something going on the other one because it wants to be played.
You know, I didn't even know what I was looking at, but I saw ACDC Angus Young, and he played an SG, I believe, and
They're
it
light.
just what's that?
They're very light. So I mean, essentially, it's like playing a Les Paul with half the weight.
Wow. Okay, never played one. No, never played one. Just looks very cool.
Easy to play. I mean, well, it seems easy to play. Like for the weight, for the strings, the way that
Right.
Gibsons are shorter scale than a Fender, and so a Fender with a set of 9 gauge strings, a Gibson with a set of tens feels like you have nines on it.
Got it. Reminds me when you just said that. Billy Gibbons tells a story about when he met BB King. So now we're mixing in things that you've already said. And it was on his show, and they were backstage, and BB King says, "Let me see your guitar." So Billy Gibbons hands him his guitar, and BB King starts playing it. He looks at him. He says, "Damn, son, why are you working so hard?" Because of the gauge of strings he had. So, and he told him, "So, and I'm not." But he basically, Billy Gibbons tells a story that BB King used to play really, really light strings, really light strings. You may know what that means more than I do, but I guess Billy was all strung up really tight, like really trying to work those fingers. He said, "Why are you
Yeah,
working so hard?"
well, it's Stevie Ray Vaughan's fault. Why people started playing with 11 gauge strings because that's what Stevie played with, and they're practically like they say piano wires.
He
They're
was
so
playing with
yeah.
and he looked
But
like
he
he's
was so,
playing with nothing.
yeah. And that's another guy, by the way, that if I was going to put on my list of course
Yeah,
influences, SRV for sure.
that's
And
awesome.
but yeah, I started. I went to tens, but 11 I couldn't do because it hurts your fingers for one thing. I mean,
Right.
you got to really work hard. You do. You have to work hard to bend them. But on the opposite end of that, if you're used to playing tens, even nines are pretty slinky. But Billy and I think, like you said, BB, were playing like sevens or at least eights. But they're so slinky that you have to be careful to not press too hard when you're making a chord because you can bend it out of tune just with the fret alone.
Doing like that.
Not even bending it, just pushing too hard can bend it out of tune. So you have to
So
change approach. You have to start playing a lot lighter.
between let's say a 7 and a 10, is is it a sound, a certain sound they're trying to get out of it? Is it a deeper, more
Some people
robust
say
sound?
some people say yes, and other people say that if you play eights, that they sound just as good as tens or elevens. I've heard it said, but it's definitely the way it feels. You know,
Right.
when you have those strings under your fingers. I mean, it's like Stevie. You see how hard and aggressive he played. Um, he could really smack those strings with a pick and not break, not bend it out of tune because I don't know. It was just he was strong, super strong. His fingers were so strong.
Had to be, because he makes it look like, if you see him do that, his version of Voodoo Child from Hendrix, it just looks like, it almost looks like he's playing air guitar. It's,
Oh no,
and his brother, Stevie Ray's brother. What's his brother's name?
Jimmy.
Jimmy.
Jimmy
I
Vaughn.
heard he's accomplished as well.
Yeah, well, Jimmy Vaughn was the guitarist in the Fabulous Thunderbirds, and so, but he was a blues. He was older, and so he was playing the blues circuit. And Jimmy was a kid. Jimmy was supposed to be a drummer, and I mean, Stevie was
Stevie.
supposed to be a drummer. Jimmy would come home and he would beat up Stevie for playing his guitar. He found him playing his guitar, you know. But after a while, I guess he gave up.
Right, right.
But Stevie is a good example of what I was talking about in the very beginning of how if you really want to learn, you have to keep playing and playing and trying and practicing. They said he had a guitar around his neck like 8 hours a day as a kid, just never took it off. Always.
It's like anything. If you want to play good at basketball, you're carrying around a basketball all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just like that. Well, so tell me, so tonight you're going to see Government Mule, and who's the other gentleman?
It's they're not calling it Government Mule. They're calling it Warren Haynes Band, which I've never seen it.
Oh, okay.
For some
I
reason.
misspoke.
Uh,
Okay.
no, for some reason, I don't know why that he's touring on this. Maybe none of the members from Government Mule are with him. I don't know what it is.
Interesting. Should be a good show. Where's it going to be at? Where's the show?
In Rockland.
Okay.
Rockland. So Roseville, Rockland, Auburn. I don't know if you're familiar with like the Highway 80
I was
side.
in, as you know, probably the last time I was there, I was in Lodi. Now that I think about it.
Mhm.
Auburn's, so how far away is Auburn in that Rockville area from Lodi?
Probably roughly 45 minutes to an hour.
It seems like it's, where do you live?
I live in the foothills, place called Pilot Hill, California.
Okay.
And Pilot Hill is between Placerville and Auburn, right in the middle off of Highway 49. So it's smack in the middle of where the gold rush in California started.
Right on. Well, have a good time tonight. I would love to do this again and maybe have a guitar in your hand.
Yeah.
And maybe a little play us a little something here as you play us a graceful exit here. What are you feeling? Love it. Nice. A little yes there at the end. What are you playing? Is that a Taylor or
Huh?
what guitar? What is that? A Taylor or a Gibson? What is that?
No, it's not either.
Oh, a Carvin. Never heard of it.
I bought Carbon is U.S. made, but the acoustics weren't. These were made in Korea. When I bought it, I thought I was buying a American made guitar, but yeah, it just played so well, and I ended up buying it. I just bought a Martin though recently.
Oh.
Just,
How many guitars do you have now? Do you know?
around 25.
You don't want to go on record with that, right?
A friend of mine said, "Never count them." Never.
There you go. Well, dude, you're awesome, man. I appreciate getting to know you better today. Thank you very much.
Oh, you too.
We got to get together. I don't know if I'm going to Shockwave again this year or not. I went last year and just I mean, I was there every day, all day, and then I was sick for a week. So I might have to tone it down a little bit if I go again this year. But let's get together if I come on out.
Good. Sounds good.
Love to do that.
Tell
All right, man.
you can tell Ian thanks a lot for getting me involved with this guy.
Yeah, exactly. Well, have a good
That's
time, and you know,
I'm
Ian
thinking
sends
that's
his
Tuesday.
love. He says so many good things about you.
Uh,
It's great to finally get to know you and meet you. So we'll
he's
do this again sometime. Have
I
fun
enjoy
tonight.
working with Ian. Which people he always tells people, you're the only one that gets me.
I could see that. I could see that. Yeah.
He's a good guy. He is. But have a good one, Sean, and thanks. And I'm going to go rock and roll, watch some blues, get inspired.
Love it, man. Awesome, man. Hey, take care. Have fun tonight.
You too. Thank you.
All right. Take it easy,
Bye.
man.